Hi, this is Tina Powell, host of In the Suite, where I sit down with top women leaders and some of the biggest names in the financial services and the wealth management industry. Together, we'll discover some of their best secrets and top strategies to grow a great business, build a strong brand, and lead teams in the 21st century. I hope you'll enjoy hearing their amazing personal stories of triumph, trepidation, and transformation in hopes of becoming better leaders ourselves. The time for you to lead is now, and you're in the suite. Nearly 9 years ago, Maree Moscati took a call from a VC that would take her from FinTech novice to FinTech CEO to having her first patent in, you guessed it, technology. Today, as Chief Executive Officer of Copytalk for nearly 9 years, Maree has taken her passion for the financial advisory profession and in the push of a button, given it award-winning compliant digital expression and solution. Maree brings to Copytalk a financial service professional's insistence on strict compliance with the highest standards of privacy and security. Under her leadership, the firm has become the premier provider of secure mobile dictation to hundreds of financial institutions and to prominent enterprises in other sectors as well. Today, the firm continues to make strides in the vital areas of protecting the privacy of clients and safeguarding the security of their work. That Copytalk is unparalleled in its delivery of accurate transcriptions, impeccably formatted and prepared exclusively by live transcriptionists. But if her resume reads more like that of a highly accomplished financial services executive, there's good reason for that. For 3 decades, that's exactly what Maree Moscati has been. 30 years ago, Maree came to the financial services industry and found herself surrounded by a sea of men with a pen in one hand and a Franklin planner in the other. Holder of FINRA Series 24, 7, and 63 licenses, Maree spent 30 years exceeding her goals as a leader in the financial services industry, first as a financial planner, then coaching others in similar gains as a regional sales manager, and later as a president and CEO in the wealth management and trust services. She is 2018 recipient of the prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award from the Bank, Insurance, and Securities Association, BISA for short, and inducted into their Hall of Fame in 2019. Maree is a graduate of the Laboratory Institute in New York City, and she completed all certified financial planner courses at Florida State University. She also carries the coveted Shared Assessments Certified Third-Party Risk Professional CDPRP certification, a distinction that is unique to Copytalk in the transcription business, rare for CEOs, even rarer for female CEOs. And one of the many gifts that you'll discover about Maree Moscati in this episode is that she is all about the people. She is, in her words, a proud mama of every single person that interacts with Copytalk. She's even taken it a step further by literally spending time in everyone's roles, not to understand what they do, but more importantly, how to be a good leader. Whether she's working with a financial advisor, an auditor, her live transcriptionist, in-house customer service team, development team, or even her IT team, and to other women in financial services like me that aspire to be like Maree, she is truly a servant of all people in the suite. Maree Moscati. Wow. It's great to see you here in the suite today. Thank you so much for being here. I see your bright, beautiful face, and I'm just thrilled. We're finally here. We finally made the date. I'm thrilled that today we are going to have a conversation with you, Maree Moscati, who's an icon.
Oh my gosh.
You've been in the industry. For those of you who don't know Maree, we're going to get into her background, but Maree is CEO of a financial technology. We call that FinTech firm. And she's an icon in the industry. Everyone knows who Maree Moscati is. And she's been in the industry for the last 30 years. She has won numerous awards. You see her everywhere now on social media. She's doing such a great job, by the way, on social media marketing and all things digital. And Maree is one of those women who had the series before we even knew what the series actually meant. You've got a 7, you've got a 24, you've got a 63. These are all licenses that are super hard to get. And that Maree was actually a pioneer, being a woman in the industry who had these licenses. And you also have another certification, third-party risk professional certification, which is a rare distinction. The initials are CTPRP. Wow.
Thank you, Tina. Boy, wow, I'm honored. And thank you for that opening. I truly, truly appreciate it. And I feel the same about Miss Tina Powell, who's broadcasting today. And this is her passion project, which I'm in awe of, but appreciate being here. So I'm looking forward to having some fun with your audience and to share whatever I can.
One of the things that I often say here in the suite is that I had wished that I had come to this industry earlier. And I meet people like you, and look, we're not at a TD conference or a T3 conference right now, but the last time that we were having a wonderful time. Wow, you're so connected, right? Everyone knows you. We're going to talk a little bit of that FinTech ecosystem because it is so integrated. But just explain to me how you even got here in the first place.
I have no clue how I got here, quite frankly. I'm still amazed almost 9 years later, sitting at the helm of Copytalk. I think some people are amazed that I lasted this long. You know, as you mentioned, I started in financial services back in the early 80s. And I will deny that I wasn't 12 years old when I started, Tina. So I was a woman in a sea of men, because in the firm that I started with, I was one woman with about 200 brokers in the office. Just imagine the atmosphere that one is in. But I'm a pretty tough cookie, so you know, I can hold my own, but it's who I am. It's my personality. But after being in the financial services industry for about 30 years, I got a call one day. I believe they were a venture capitalist company, and they were looking for somebody to sit at the helm of this company. And I really honestly wasn't interested, but they said, no, let's talk. Let's just talk for about 45 minutes. And it was going to be at 7 or 8 o'clock at night one evening. And I was going through with the firm I was with at the time, a FINRA audit. So you could just imagine how crazy busy we were. So I was trying to cancel the meeting, and they said, no, just do it for 20 minutes. So I agreed to the 20-minute call. Long story short, it's a privately held company, and I had lunch a week or so later with the owners, and I wasn't really sure what the company was. And then after I garnered more information, they told me they were narrowing it down to 3 people, and then eventually the offer came. And anybody that knows me in the industry, back in the day, I was a Franklin Planner girl. So for those in your audience that may not know what the Franklin Planner process was, it was a book. That book was your Bible. Your life was in that book. And I clutched my Franklin Planner like it was my heart. So, and one day when my operations manager at the time was saying, you need to get onto Microsoft Outlook and put everything on the calendar so we can see your schedule. And I'm like, no, it needs to be in my Franklin Planner. I needed pen and paper. So that's as techy as I got. Anyway, when the offer came down, and I wound up accepting it because I felt that the one thing through my career, I never thought I wanted to go into management. Because I always thought management was pushing paper. I like to be with the people. I'd like to be with my clients. I'd like to be with the people that I was in bank brokerage at the time. I like to be with the people in the branches. But anyway, when I went into management, I realized they convinced me to try it, and I did. But I realized I had an uncanny knack of really helping advisors to their full potential. So coming on board with Copytalk, I recognized that the journey that I was about to take allowed me to then work with other firms and their advisors on a much broader national level. So I looked at it in a different light. And Tina, I will tell you, and I can kill him to this day, but my husband, when I told my husband I accepted the role, he said, "Don't get mad at me, but I'm going to ask you a question. What the heck do you know about technology?" And I'm like, "Thanks a lot." But I'm like, I know business and I know the industry that they serve. And as long as you surround yourself with amazing people, an amazing team, I can learn what I need to learn. And I need to know enough to be able to manage a business and to grow a business and to lead the organization where the industry mandates us to be in an effort to serve them. So almost 9 years later, here I am. That's how I got here.
So what I find that was so interesting, and I'm so glad that you accepted the role, that's nearly 9 years ago. And look at you right now, that you might not have known the technology, but boy, have you certainly mastered it. Copytalk Mobile Scribe received the BISA Innovation Technology Award for 3 years in a row. You yourself have received a BISA Lifetime Achievement Award. And here's one of the aspects that you just hit upon right before when you just said it, is that you understand the people. So for those of you who don't know what Copytalk is, I would love for you to explain it to our audience.
As I mentioned earlier, Tina, for me, accepting the role here allowed me to have the vision that I would be able to assist advisors and other firms with the knowledge that I've garnered over my 30 years in the industry. And then using the technology, because I was one who really fought against technology.
Why is that? What about
I'm a baby
technology?
boomer, girl. I'm a baby boomer. You know, I'm a pen and paper. It was fearful. I was afraid I was going to screw something up, or I was just, I was afraid that I would miss something if it wasn't written down in front of me, because it's what I did my entire career. And what we lived by. So once we went digital, even with applications online, I was afraid that I was going to just screw something up. So I had a fear of it. I thought it was going to be too complicated and I wouldn't understand it. So that really was a big hesitation for me. It was more the fact that I could potentially impact in a positive light other firms and other advisors, because the successes I scraped my knees and elbows many times along the way, but the successes along the way just made it all worth it. So coming into this realm, I really had no idea about the FinTech world. I mean, it was foreign to me. However, I knew about the industry that we serve, which is wealth management and financial services arena. I knew about what it takes to be a professional, good advisor. I knew what firms wanted. I knew what the regulatory bodies demanded of us. I knew what clients wanted. So I had that ultimate foundation of what we needed to do in the industry to be the best that we can be, to set us apart, but yet we have to learn efficiencies. I mean, I wish I had a fraction of the technology when I was an advisor that advisors have today. But the challenge of today is there's so much of it, and some of it can be complex that We at Copytalk, we're a niche in the marketplace. We do mobile transcription. We help you memorialize your client conversations in a very quick and easy manner, right after you have a meeting, sometimes even during a meeting, whatever it may be. This is what we do. We do it well. And in my opinion, I'm a little biased, but we're the best of the best in the industry for a myriad of reasons. But because I come from the industry, I can relate what it is that the people we serve and the firms that we serve, I relate to what you're up against and what you need to do. And in this ever-changing, demanding world of ours, we need to go back to the philosophy. The first year as an advisor back into the early 80s was the KISS structure. Keep it simple, stupid. So it's, everybody's like, well, do we have to download software and how hard is it? So part of what we do is, can you leave a voicemail? Everybody knows how to leave a voicemail. Then you know how to use our service. And our service makes it very quick, very simple, very easy to document the why of any client meetings or processes that you have to memorialize.
Which I think that the documentation aspect of what you're doing is so important for financial advisors and their ability to document on the fly right now. I know that Copytalk integrates with mobile. You can use it through your mobile. You can use it through a desktop. You can use it through a tablet. And one of the things that I noticed from being in a wealth management environment and going through an SEC audit was documentation with the biggest D. And they wanted documentation for everything. They pulled out, this was so interesting to me, Maree, because I hadn't come from a financial services background, and to have an SEC examiner walk into an organization and randomly pull out 18 contacts or 18 clients and say, I want you to show me every single client conversation, note, letter, every single piece of communication as it relates to this contact file over an 18-month period. And it's not like, the last 18 months. It could be that period could start and end anytime that the examiner wanted. And you have a saying in Copytalk that I think makes a lot of sense. And that is that you are the premium transcription services that hears what others don't. And that if it isn't documented, it didn't happen. And I can tell you with certainty that this is the key to an advisor's well-being, their clients' well-being, the future of their firm is documentation. I absolutely agree with it because I've seen it in action.
Well, thank you. And that's so true. When I was an advisor working for a large firm before it was the SEC, the NASD, that's how long ago it was. Yeah. They walked into my office and they didn't ask for 18. They asked for, I think, about 6 or 7 client files randomly, just whatever names they had. They gave me the list and said, give me this file, give me this file. And the key to any kind of audit is the least amount of questions an auditor has to ask you, the better the examination is going. I've only, I still hold my 24 and my 7 for a little time longer, even though I'm not practicing. I have to say that 30 years in the industry, I'm pretty proud to say that there's not one blemish on my U4. However, I did go through an audit. I did go through an arbitration for one of my advisors one time. It was a 3-person panel, so it wasn't a huge one, but trust me, it took 3 days out of my life and probably a lot of nightless sleeps for the advisor. We did everything right. And even the attorneys would say that what saved us was our documentation. And, and that was the key. And in today's world, especially with, the Reg BI that came down the pike a few months ago, it's not only, I think one of the keys in my mind was the fact that regulation requires continuous monitoring. It's not one and done. that you need to continually monitor your clients. And I think the whole industry as a whole, Tina, is fascinating to me. It's an industry I'm very passionate about, but it's fascinating to me because, now it's really lifestyle changes and life coaches. And it's more about the relationship that you're building and so much more transactional as it was back in today, thank goodness. But even more so, the reason, and then because if you want to do generational planning, you need to get familiar with the children and maybe even the grandchildren. There's so much more to what an advisor and wealth manager does in today's world than what we used to do. I don't know how you can live without the tools that are available to you, and how you can really strongly practice without using some of the tools that make you more efficient and more proficient, and that are simple for your everyday practice, and that keeps you in tune with your clients. So you don't have to go, a client wants to know that you're listening to them. Client wants to know that you care more about their money than you do your own. So when you are sitting with with a client, a follow-up session or a prospect hoping to become a client, you want to pick up that conversation exactly where you left off, and capturing even the smallest details. If you have a husband and wife that could be a second marriage, and you have a blended family, and you start talking about beneficiaries, the conversation can get a little challenging, as we've all been there, but you want to assess the body language. Is the wife moving in? Is the husband sitting back? What signals are you getting? And if you can capture that in your notes, you're going to be way ahead of the game on your next meeting with them. So I think, documentation is not just for the facts. It's capturing those little details that may slip your mind. It may be the 25th anniversary, or it may be, the acceptance into a college for a client's child. It could be a myriad of things, and making sure that your team, if you work with a team, that somebody on your team acknowledges that from your team. It's those little things that clients, unsaid things that clients realize that you're listening to them, and that you're caring about not only them, but their family or their goals and their dreams. We have such an impact on people's lives, those of us that work in this industry. I just find it fascinating.
It's really a beautiful way that you just touched upon the essence and the need for communication as a way for an advisor to really show people that they care, most of all, because you're not going to work with someone unless you know that they care. But what a simple way to show you care, just by adding Copytalk, adding the documentation to your conversations, and what you said, picking up where you left off, because there's nothing more insulting to a client than working with even your doctor, right? I had to go for a hip x-ray. I'm totally fine. But the next time I come in a month from now, and if my doctor said, treated me as if I was coming in for the first time, I would be insulted. I don't know that I would go back to that doctor again. So it goes back to credibility factor as well, that whole idea of trust. Hey listeners, you can get a copy of the show notes from today's episode with Maree Moscati. Just text the word "in the suite," INTHESUITE, all one word, to 55444, and you'll receive them right in your inbox. Thanks. You had talked about Reg BI, regulation, best interest, and I wanted to know what you were seeing. How does that change for broker dealers now? How do they use Copytalk in a way that's either different from what they were doing, or I guess even more advanced to what they're doing? What does that look like now in a post-Reg BI world as it relates to documentation?
Well, I think the regulation really requires some additional steps that an advisor has to take. I mean, there's a form CRS, and most firms, will have this out there to them. But as I mentioned earlier, I found what's fascinating is they need to know in what capacity someone is working. And in today's world, you could be a hybrid. You could be both a registered rep with a FINRA license, and you can be an RIA. So they want to know which capacity are you working for. Is it a commission structure? You have to disclose the costs that are involved. The continuous monitoring is a key element of documentation. And I think, if one sets up their business according to be keen on following what the regulation mandates from advisors, you want to set up the tone with your client of how do you want to communicate? Is it going to be an annual review? Do they want it quarterly? Or do you want to meet in person? Although today I know that's a little bit more challenging, but do you want to meet in person? Do you want email? Do you want phone calls? Do you want to do a Zoom meeting? How do you want us to communicate? Because we're going to communicate on a regular basis, whether it's monthly, quarterly, annually, you have to decide this with your clients up front. And I think that sets the tone for that continuous monitoring key point. But then you have to have evidence of that monitoring. And the documentation is the evidence of that monitoring. And you set the tone right up front with them. And I'll share with your audience, we just announced it this week on social media, but we're coming out with a copyrighted template to try and help advisors for our app that will keep them in tune, not to take away with any of their firms' regulations that they mandate, but just as they're having conversations, it will keep them in tune to remind them of what the things that they need to discuss if appropriate. So I'm very excited about that. We were hoping to release it sooner, but we wanted to make sure that what we were delivering was pretty much a gold standard type of a template, not the end all of end all, depending on the firms, what they want to do, but just something to further assist the people that we serve according to the regulation.
Oh, I think that's great. And always the advisor having to prove that the client is allocated in a certain way, right? It needs to be documented that a client is allocated a certain way. And what examiners, at least in my experience, what they were looking at is if there was a change in life in some way, somebody had a major health event or a loss in job, and especially as it relates to COVID right now, the impetus of the responsibility of the advisor to make sure that, all of this stuff is documented. I love that you made this template, and I'm really excited that we'll include the announcement in the show notes. And one of the things that I like about your product is it integrates with our CRM. So even though we're a digital marketing agency, we still use a client relationship management software by Redtail that is integrated directly with your product. And I kept, believe it or not, I think the wealth management industry as a whole has it right on the tech stack. I find that a lot of the tools are things that even if you have the wealth management and digital media management has a lot of similar things. So do you want to just tell us what's going on?
We do have several integrations with other CRMs, the large ones, Redtail, Salesforce, Wealthbox, Advisor Assistant, a couple of them. Last year, we designed, because, especially when I'm out at conferences, because I love people, I love talking to advisors.
Oh, that's obvious, Maree. I want to be wherever Maree is. When I get to a conference, I'm like, wow, I see Copytalk, and then I'm like looking for Maree. You're not too hard to find either.
Well, that's the whole point. That's really what I love, because I want to know from the people that use our service what they like, the good, bad, and the ugly. I believe in, focus groups and studying and, how can we make it better for them? We can only be as good as we are relevant to the people that we serve. So I've never been and never wanted to be what I call the glass tower type of manager or CEO. You got to be with the people. And I ask people that don't use our service, why not? And what are you doing to make your practice? So it's critically important. But we just did a couple of other integrations, kind of unique. Last year, we came out with a trademarked platform called the Copytalker. And it's basically an API integration because advisors had technology, but it was kind of all over the place. So this integration, the Copytalk, will sit right on top of an advisor dashboard. I love it. It's kind of my baby. It's my first patent. So I get super excited. Patents in technology. But I'm so excited about it because I kept saying to my team, and I'm proud of my team because both our development team and our IT team, everybody is in-house. And I kept saying, I want a button. I want a button that sits right on the tablet, right on your dashboard that you can push and you can use Copytalk. That's what I want. You don't have to pick up a phone. You don't have to use the app. It's right there. You can push the button. And by the way, Redtail has this available. They're the first CRM that we worked with that has the Copytalker. We also integrate with Ignite, which is a great platform for documentation management. So we're proud of that. But what I'm super excited, just announced this week, kind of a soft announcement, but you're going to hear more about it. We do a lot of transcription for some closed captioning houses. So we've gone into the audio, video, and media transcription. It's a very specialized process that we do. It's kind of a secondary service it's called DigiScribe. We call it Digi for short, or custom Digi for the media platforms. However, we partnered with a firm we've been working with for a while that will do many exciting things that we weren't able to do. The most exciting thing, and they do a lot of closed captioning. They do rolling captions and things of that nature. But the most exciting thing is that we now can take our English transcription. If somebody wants it in one of 100 different languages, they can transcribe our English transcription into 100 different languages. So I'm super excited about that. We've never been able to do foreign language, and now we'll have that capability. So if we're working with a global company that's doing a presentation or some education training, or a company that needs to take English and have it done in Spanish, so they can broadcast it in Mexico or Spain or wherever, we can do it. We've had a company at a T3 conference, a couple of the senior people beg us to be able to do transcription in Mandarin. And we're like, we can't. I wish we could do that, but we can't.
Right. Yeah.
But now we can take the English transcription and get it into Mandarin for them should they want, through this partnership. So SyncWorks is a brand new partnership. We're quite excited. We're going to be able to do closed captionings. And as we talk about people doing more Zoom meetings and GoToWebinars, they can do rolling captions. Like if we were doing this now and we had them, SyncWorks, involved in it, they can do rolling captions of this as we're recording it, which is super cool.
Right. And so those captions would be displayed as we're talking on the bottom so that people could have the benefit of reading as we're speaking. In addition, though, I think it's important, Maree, that we make an additional distinction, and that is that Copytalk, although that you are a FinTech firm, you are also too human assisted, because in financial services, look, if you try to transcribe something just using like Microsoft or some sort of basic program, good luck as it relates to financial services, because ETFs, things are, the nomenclature of the vocabulary alone will give any machine its heyday.
Right. And each firm, many firms that, enterprises that we work with have certain products that they offer, and they want it all done a certain way. So our transcriptionists, if I can take a moment and talk about our fantastic transcriptionists, I am so proud of them. First of all, we use live transcriptionists. We are not a voice recognition company. They're fully vetted and exceptionally well trained. But when I first came on board, I'm a firm believer of being in everybody's role, trying it, because you have to really understand what they do, I believe, in order to be a good leader. So I sat, and I'm a pretty good typist, but I sat for 20 minutes. We have an office in Gainesville, Florida. It's one of our largest offices. Any given day, we have anywhere between 400 and 500 transcriptionists. And, there could be 150 people sitting there typing away.
That's so incredible.
It's amazing. But I sat there for 20 minutes, Tina. I have to tell you, I couldn't wait. I'm like, how did they do it? And I have to say, some of them come in, they're on our equipment, but some of them choose to use these ergonomic keyboards. They have foot pedals. They can speed it up, slow it down. We have common terms lists. We have certain accounts have certain criteria. So they get, a big fat notification on that account saying this is done that way. On the integrations, things have to be said and done a certain way so it integrates. So what is really cool, and part of what differentiates us, is that pre-pandemic, our transcriptionists, they're all US based. They worked in our facilities, which was our facilities are modeled like a FINRA testing center. Their personal stuff goes in a locker. They come in, they sign on, no personal devices at their area. There's divisions between them. They put on their headphones, they log in, and they have at it. They have common terms lists that we create, and macros, which are helps them speed up the transcription. It's pretty fascinating. I don't know how they do what they do. I'm amazed by them. And then we have QAs, the quality assurance team, and then the quality assurance team that oversees the quality assurance team. And above them are supervisors that control and monitor while they're working. And then each facility has an operations manager. And then we have a director of operations that oversees it all. So it is amazing. But through the pandemic, we have a subset of our transcriptionists that had to work from home. But for the most part, they work on, our security and privacy is second to none. They work from our equipment. Our security protocols stay the same. We invite auditors to come in because, working with the most prominent financial institutions you can imagine. And coming from the industry, I'm like, bring it on. If there's something you need to know, then let me know. But again, even with my tech team and our developers, our customer service team, our account execs, they all work collaboratively together. And I will say auditors that plan to spend 3 days with us are done in a day and a half because they're amazed at how organized everything is, how everything is ready for them. So I'm like a proud mama. I'm so proud of them because no person is an island. No one firm can run by one person or just a handful of people. Every single person, including the people that come into our offices and keep us really cleaned and sanitized because we still have a subset of people that come in. We're social distancing and doing all of that. But our environments are environments that we're proud of because I feel when you come in, or even if those of us that work remote, it's critically important we stay connected and that every day we are so proud of what we do to serve the people that we work with, that we go above and beyond. Our customer service team is second to none. Our main goal is to help you through whatever issue, as long as it's not violating any of our security or privacy protocols, because I'm a stickler for that. But
I would expect nothing less from that, from like that.
I would say even when, every year we do what we call the tour to Copytalk, because in our facilities, we take the executive team and we go out to each of our facilities. We shut it down for an hour or two and we congratulate the transcriptionists on what they do. We make banners of what our clients are saying so they know, because they don't really hear from the end client. So we make sure that they're aware of that. and we have an amazing team. Some of them are, our IT interns that really want to go into the IT field. Some of them are editors. A young lady, she's a supervisor lead for us, but was an editorialist. And she's the one that she did your interview, Tina, on our Dynamic Women series.
We're going to talk about that Dynamic Women series and the men who support them. I think that was really a brilliant idea. Again, you're hitting upon some really incredible themes, and that is, it goes back to people. And a lot of business leaders right now listening to this podcast have struggled to, I guess, connect with their people in a post-COVID world because we lost the luxury, and I'll call it luxury, of being together on site with people. And one of the questions that I'd love to ask you, or even your thoughts upon, is how do we continue to build teams, collaborative teams, people who feel appreciated and who really want to work with one another through this pandemic?
It was really quite challenging to do this. And I think you have to, number one, be true to who you are and what you believe in, because you can't fake empathy. You cannot fake caring about your people and making sure that you're safe. And I know a lot of firms have done this. People are working remote as best that they can. We do keep in each one of our facilities, there is a small group of people that go in. So number one, those that do need to go into the office, we made sure that they knew what we were doing. Out of its communication, Tina.
I was about to say,
incredible, they right? knew all the steps that we were taking. We have masks, we have gloves, we have sanitizer. We deep clean every week. When we used to bring in, trays of food or drinks, now we do it individually packed. So people aren't, everybody's touching individual.
Right.
It's little things like that. We have an internal chat system. I'm on it morning, noon, and night. I'm available. And we have a way of saying, be right back, or stepped out, or having lunch. So they know everybody is connected to each other in some way, state, or form. We have collaborative meetings, whether it's with my account execs and customer service, or it's, the IT and tech team meet once a week. We meet, I just did a call with all our operations managers, to check in on what's happening, what our transcriptionists are feeling, how are things going there, how are they feeling about working remotely, all those things. We did with one of our facilities, we, again, shut down for what I thought would be an hour. It wound up 2 hours with all of our team in the Tallahassee area, which we have one of our facilities. So, everybody was able to come on board and ask questions. So, I think you have to find ways. One of the ladies does a newsletter for our Gainesville facility, but it's so good. And now she's taking some of the podcasts and videos that we've done and adding that to it. And I said, why don't you send it to all the facilities, not just yours? So that she loves doing it. She loves writing. So we try to find, the talent, and we grow our talent organically because we have such a base to work from and such a talent pool to work from. All of our managers, I think I'm the only one that came from the outside, quite frankly. All of our managers.
Maybe that was the secret.
Maybe that's the secret.
That's the whole secret to this thing.
They've all grown up organically, so we know, they can start most of our managers started as transcriptionists. So, what better way? Because it is a niche firm. And I will say, if I can go back to one other point that I mentioned when we were talking about voice recognition and our fantastic transcriptionists, what you can do when you use our service is if you say the term operator, that tells our transcriptionists they're getting a command. So you could say, operator, delete the last sentence, or operator, I want the next 3 points to be numbered, or I want the next 2 words to be bold, so, or make a paragraph in between each of my questions and then my answer, and then make a paragraph, however you want it formatted, or whatever you want to change, or you want to pause, whatever it is that you want to do, just say operator, and they stop typing and they listen to the command.
That is so cool. I had no idea. First of all, in communication, right? Even just writing an email, sometimes I've said to members of our team here, be careful how much information that we're putting into an email. And when we have to delineate it, make sure to use bold, bullets, numbers, things that add in comprehension, because then what happens is, oh, did you get an answer for this? Oh, no, I haven't heard back from that person. Well, watch this. We really need to simplify communications. And it's funny what you were just saying as operator. It made me think of even this podcast, like what I'd say is, Kevin, oh, take this out right now. But what a powerful tool that you give that you put that in the hands of the advisors so that they can customize the way that they need their documentation to flow within their organization. And so that nobody misses a beat. Everybody within the company they're already schooled on what that version looks like, right? So that things are formatted correctly. That is the fact that you have formatting features within a verbal command system blows me away.
Oh, it's very good. Take it even further. And we did this for one of our presentations, especially when you have an integration with the CRM or with another FinTech firm. If you have two clients and their last names are White, you can spell out White. If we always use the classic spelling, if somebody's making a dictation and doesn't spell it, but what if the last name is WHYTE?
Right.
And you don't want somebody's financial information going into the wrong Mr. White's file. That could be disastrous. So the other cool part is on our platform, a lot of people work in teams now. So they have maybe 4 or 5 people within one team. So and when I was on the road a lot, when I was managing a broker dealer, I had 7 different states. So, and I had 7 assistants and an ops manager. And as I was making dictations, because I could be in a different time zone, as I was making dictations, I would say, operator, skip 2 lines and go make this bold, message to Lindley. And I would give Lindley a command, and saying, I need to, set my calendar for this date at this time, block me for 2 hours, blah, blah, blah. Because, when you're doing it by phone and you're calling, your back office, they're like, you didn't ask me to do that. Well, yes, I did, because you're rambling because you're on, you may be traveling or you've got a lot on your plate and you're thinking out loud and they're not capturing all of it, not to any fault of their own. It's just that you're spewing so much out. When it's documented, it's no more he said, she said type of thing. It's right there. So it's a very clear message to your home office teams, whatever follow-up they need to do for you or to have prepared for a client or for those that are in management. I used to do advisors reviews by Copytalk because they were, the firm I worked for, at one point I had 174 advisors, but we broke it down regionally and in each of those divisions, there may have been 5 managers. So you put that all together, I had 25 managers and I had 25 reviews to do. And it's pretty hard to sit there and write them all. I used to copy talk them all.
I'm noticing about you, Maree Moscati, is that you were thinking in terms of technology before technology got to you, and here you are for someone that was so, I would say a little bearish maybe on the technology, which is the funniest thing. You're talking about API integrations, macros, dashboards, and all of these fancy features that Copytalk has. And now you're a patent. That's so impressive. I think it's a really big takeaway for the people listening is that you might have a little bit of, I guess, I don't know, what would you call it, Maree? Like you're the perfect poster child now for going all into something that your husband said, hey, but yet I feel like you already had the programming in you.
I think the underlying key is the passion for the industry. and knowing what you learned through your own mistakes along the way, and then growing into the industry, and then what's the next step for you? What's the next part of your journey? It was a risk. I mean, they took a risk on me, and I took a risk that I can better this company and grow this company and make sure we stay relevant along the way. But more importantly to me is, what do we do as a firm to make the enterprises and the people that we serve make their lives easier? Because if I'm always looking at what we accomplish for our clients, how do we make it better? I don't want to be the same old, same old. What makes us different? What makes us better?
Right.
How do we strive to be the next best thing? What are regulators going to demand from our clients? It's one of the reasons why I sit on the advisory board for Shared Assessments Organization. They set the standards for third-party vendor risk. That's where my certification is from. I can't ask my team to go get this certification if I didn't do it. So,
right. You're really modeling that behavior.
To me, and some of that sets us apart. There's no other mobile transcription company, no other transcription company that is a member of this firm. And we've been a member. I've been here for 9 years. I believe we've been a member for 8 plus 8.5 years. And I've been sitting on the board for, I don't know, probably too long, but maybe about 5 years out of that term. But that allows me to meet with the key people that do privacy and security. We could get to discuss and talk to what's the next steps regulators are going to look for in this industry. So we could start thinking and planning, and I can have our CTO, start saying, you know what, we may need to think about developing this because the regulators are going to demand that. So it keeps us ahead of the game. And even with simple things that most, enterprise folks that work in risk management, procurement, understand this, but the advisor doesn't. And then, of course, the advisor's clients need to, they may not ask the questions. Well, how is my information going to be secure? How does it stay private? Maybe in today's world, they're a little bit more savvy in asking that, but it's not top of mind for most. And for us, we put that front and foremost. It's what you do with the information that you have that is important. One of the key things is we don't archive. We keep our transcriptions for 60 days. Then it's a 21-day gestation backup period. They're off our servers. And enterprises love that because why do we need, people have asked if we can do that, but why? Why would we want to do that when the firms have to do it?
Well, one of the things that differentiates you is you have incredible passion. Where does that passion come from? Why such an attachment so deeply seated for this industry? Where does that come from?
Well, I guess from the very beginning of really understanding. This was going into financial services was a second career for me. I came out of New York being in the fashion industry.
I can totally see you in the fashion industry, Maree.
But
you've got an amazing look to you. You're all color coordinated. You're not seeing her right now on video. I am right now. And I can tell you, she looks like you're definitely a fashionista.
But, I moved up the ranks and then, I was a little bored, quite frankly. And I knew I loved people and I was kind of analytical. I didn't want to be a CPA. For some reason, that didn't excite me. And, I looked at the Sunday New York Times one Sunday morning in New York City and just said, where are the jobs? And account exec for the financial world came up. And the next thing you know, I'm taking my Series 7 and... Back in the day when it was still pen and paper and you had to wait 3 weeks to get the results. So gosh.
So exciting.
But I think when you realize, and our industry hears so much of the negative stuff, unfortunately, that I think what you're doing in the C-suite and part of the reason of dynamic women that I'm very, very proud of.
And the men, I want to make sure that we
and the men who support them.
Fantastic. The men who support them, you've got icons. I mean, Ron Carson, legendary advisor, Barron's advisor, CEO and chairman of Carson Group. We had Terry Shepard here on the podcast. I mean, amazing. Tyrone Ross. You've got some incredible Tyrone, who's now financial literacy, education, crypto. You got real leaders here and on the female side, I do want to put a shout out to all of the amazing women. You've got Lori Hardwick, you've got April Rudin, you've got Cheryl Nash. I mean, what an
Tina Powell.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, what an icon of positivity. You mentioned a really important point is that we hear so much negative, and you're on the same mission that I'm on, Maree. And it's like, how do we change what people believe or think they know about the industry? And how do we deliver the real truth other than through documentation?
Yeah.
And through Copytalk?
We can document that for you. I think through my own experience a couple of things. One of the first women I ever met with when I was a broker, brand new broker, just got my Series 7, was a woman who just recently became widowed. And we sat for about 4 hours and she cried through all of it. And I listened to her and we chatted a little bit. She was financially secure, only she never handled her money. And I decided at that point that the only decision for her to make was no decision at all as an advisor. And I walked out of the conference room, and I'll never forget this. My manager asked me, what did I close with her? And I told him nothing. And he was not happy with me, I will tell you that. But she wound up becoming one of my largest clients eventually. But she was too flustered and too sad to make any rational decisions when it came to her finances. But even more important, that was the beginning of me realizing that there were so many women, including myself growing up. Everybody was going to handle money for you, not us. But when I went over to equitable financial companies, I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing life insurance. Heaven help me. But when you deliver a first death benefit check to a young woman of 32 years old with 3 toddlers, 3 little children, and a husband who was 35 that died all of a sudden, and you're delivering, I don't remember what it was, $1 million, maybe $1.5 million of a life insurance benefit. There's no money that can replace the loss of a loved one, but it certainly took a lot of financial pain away. And that was the day that I realized, putting those 2 scenarios together for me, what I did for a living. And it so changed the trajectory of not only my success in the business, but my own attitude about what I was doing and the career change that I made. So that's where my passion comes from. And there's so many, and then growing up in the industry, even at Equitable, I went to their Elite Women's Conference. This is a major company, right? Back in the day, I don't remember what year it was, probably early 90s. And there was maybe 8 women across the United States that were there. You realize that it was a hard industry for women to get into because it was really a man's world. But in today, and I have to bring her up because she was so critical to me, Marla Sofa. I met Marla at a conference I think it might have been the Pershing conference. No, it was a TD conference. Sorry. They did a women's champagne cocktail reception. And I met Marla and we started to talk. Her background as a young woman is amazing. And she was my inspiration for starting the Dynamic Woman blog. Because I'm like, Marla, you're incredible. And there's, as you know, Tina, doing the C-suite, there's so many amazing people and women, and we're highlighting women as women growing up in this industry, but the men who support them. And the first one that I did was my prior boss, Jim Nunengarty, who's now the president of Regions Brokerage, who was probably one of the greatest leaders I had the privilege to learn from and to work with. And I asked him if he would be willing to do something like that. And he said, sure, for you, anything. And he was the very first men who support him. And he was my inspiration because he supported me in the industry. And I was the only woman in the whole group at that.
Oh, I'm sure, Maree. I know that.
So you know that as well. We swim in a sea of men, fabulous men for the most part.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. Fabulous men. Exactly. Who've been unbelievable and instrumental in our careers.
Absolutely. And they should be honored and celebrated. Yes. And that's why the expansion came, from dynamic women and the men who support them. And just like you're doing as well, Tina. So I think bringing this to the forefront and really highlighting people that do good, because we do so much good. And unfortunately, what gets more attention sometimes are the ones that aren't so good. And that's unfortunate. But you know what? Step by step. And when I'm long gone, hopefully there's more Tina Powells that come up there, and there's more Cheryls that are doing the females in finance, and the more Ninas that are doing
Cheryl Hickinson, Neil O'Neill.
Yeah,
all sure. We had Cheryl.
Will continue running as they're starting to do now, and beginning to do, and highlight the great people in this industry, because they're the ones who really carry on the torch of the next generations to come. And that, to me, is I'm good.
Maree, I know that so many people are going to want to reach out. I know that you're on social media, and we'll have a link to your Twitter and your LinkedIn and all that. But what is the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Social media is fine. They can email me at maree.moscati@copytalk.com. I'm pretty much an open book. Anybody can call me, reach out to me. I'll do whatever I can to help you. It takes a while sometimes because schedules are kind of busy.
And she's got an amazing team, everybody, an amazing team. We do have one last question, and I wanted to acknowledge that Maree's first name is spelled Maree. So just like we were talking about the Copy Talk, I think it's so interesting. There are alternative ways to spell your name, which is spelled beautifully. So we do have one last question that we ask women in the suite, because we all need to channel that superpower. We need to be on our game and to call upon that, right? To say, okay, this is the day and I'm going to bring it. And for some women, we have either a mantra, something we say to ourselves, a physical object, a ritual, a practice. And I'm just so fascinated by the answers to this question, because I admire women like you who have been such an inspiration to not only me, but so many other women. And any advice that you would have, I'd love to hear.
I don't have an object. I'm really not, I don't look at a materialistic something to inspire me. I do say rise up. And I like that phrase because it really is, it can relate to almost anything. There's something I really don't want to do. I just tell myself to rise up. Sometimes I say snap out of it, but I like to use rise up, because I think if we all just rise up an inch each day, or a fraction of an inch each day, and try to be the better part of ourselves, and rise up even to reach out to somebody that may need a little inspiration or something. I think as leaders in this industry, it behooves us to really help people grow, to achieve better than what we may have ever achieved in our lifetime. And that's why I like the term rise up. And I think also we have to learn all the time. You have to always be learning, whether it's reading a new book. In fact, somewhere I have Simon Sinek's new book, and I don't read it cover to cover. I just kind of let it flow. And sometimes I pick it up, open it up, and just read the message that may be on that page, or that particular story that he's putting out there. But I find inspiration from the people around me. I find inspiration from, if I don't know something, I'm not afraid to ask people. another great lady and I would be remiss if I didn't bring up her name, Kina Pettyjohn.
Yes.
I didn't know FinTech. She knew FinTech. We were introduced by a mutual friend a few years ago, and I was in awe of her because I'm like, what do I know about technology? And I learned so much from working with her for a couple of years that we worked together that, I was inspired by that. So I always say, look to people that, even if you don't know them, like I've never met Tyrone Ross. I never met him. I followed him. I love what he's doing. And I feel like I've known this person my entire life just by working. Mm-hmm. Same thing with you, Tina. I met you and instantaneously it was there. That contagious smile that you have and that inviting personality. I think if the world had more of that we would be in a much better place. And that's what I would love to see happen. But if it's to be, it has to start with me. So I think the old adage, do unto others as you would have others do unto you, will always, ring true for all of us that grew up with that motto, if you will. So I think all of that combination is being the best that you can, learn from others, ask questions, try to understand where they're coming from, and be the best version of yourself, and rise up a little bit better each and every day than where you were yesterday. And I think for me, it's what I live by. And in today's world with this pandemic, this awful pandemic that's bestowed upon us, be as compassionate and empathetic as you can, both to your peers, to your coworkers, to your team, to your family and friends, and to even strangers. So with that is the best that I can share with you in the C-suite, Tina.
Amen to that. Thank you so much, Maree Moscati, Copytalk, and the gift of your words and your insights, and you just being an incredible role model, inspiration to me and so many others like me. And we will have show notes, and we'll have Copytalk even transcribe this conversation, because I'm so proud of the fact that we have memorialized these words and just this time together. Truly an honor. You're so special to me and so many other people. So Maree Moscati, God bless you for all the work that you're doing. Continued success, and thanks for all doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Tina. It's been an honor and a pleasure as always.
You're listening to In the Suite, a podcast that shares amazing stories of women in business, in the financial services, and the wealth management industry. Our producers are Tina Powell and Kevin Hirshorn. Our editor-at-large is Kevin Hirshorn. Our content writers are Carmen Varner and Tina Powell. Our research and technical assistant is Rachel Powell. Want to get show notes from today's episode? Just text In the Suite, INTHESUITE, all one word, to 55444, and you'll receive them right in your inbox. In the Suite podcast is sponsored by C-Suite Social Media, a digital marketing and social media agency for C-Suite leaders and companies in finance and technology. You can visit csuitesocialmedia.com to learn more. And thank you for listening and subscribing to In the Suite podcast. We are so grateful to you. We've got listeners in 387 cities and 27 countries. This podcast was inspired by you ladies. Please let us know how you enjoyed this episode with Maree Moscati, and share your thoughts on LinkedIn and Twitter using the hashtag #InTheSuite. I would love it, and it would mean so much if you left us a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, or Google, and wherever you listen to this amazing episode with Maree. You can connect with her on LinkedIn and Twitter at Copytalk Maree. That's COPYTALKMAREE, and follow her company, Copytalk USA, also on Twitter. You can check out their website, copytalk.com. And always, if you would like to share the name of a rock star woman in financial services we should interview in 2021, please send it to me at Tina@C-Suite Social Media. Again, thank you so much for listening and subscribing to In the Suite.